RoboCop, Paul Verhoeven's 1987 love letter to dystopia wrapped in a metal fist. It's not just a film, it's a surgical strike against the bloated, self-congratulatory America of the 1980s, a decade that mistook greed for good governance and neon for nuance. What could have been another run-of-the-mill action flick, more at home on a shelf next to Death Wish 3, becomes instead a relentless satire masquerading as a blockbuster. Verhoeven didn't just make a movie, he dissected a culture and served up the entrails for all to see, with just the right amount of gleaming, bullet-ridden cynicism.
We killed you! We killed you!
Before RoboCop became the icon of sci-fi subversion, it almost ended up in the cinematic bin, next to all the other half-baked ideas of the era. Verhoeven initially dismissed the script as yet another action movie, the kind that would usually star a grizzled action hero muttering one-liners while flexing his muscles. It took his wife's sharp eye to see beyond the explosions and gunfire to the biting satire lurking beneath. The script, courtesy of Edward Neumeier and Michael Miner, was not just about a man-turned-machine. It was a commentary on a society gleefully selling its soul to the highest bidder. Casting RoboCop wasn't exactly a walk in the park. The role demanded an actor who could convey both the pathos of a man stripped of his humanity and the imposing presence of a near-invincible enforcer. Enter Peter Weller, a man whose dedication to the role would have made Daniel Day-Lewis nod in approval. Weller took to mime training to nail RoboCop's mechanical movements, an effort that paid off in spades when you consider that most of his time on set was spent sweating buckets inside a claustrophobic suit that restricted his movement, vision, and probably his will to live.
What are your prime directives?
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law.
If Dante were alive and making films, he'd have probably set one of his circles of hell in Dallas during the summer, which is where RoboCop was filmed. The city, doubling as dystopian Detroit, provided the perfect backdrop. If your idea of dystopia involves your lead actor losing 3 pounds a day in sweat, Weller's infamous discomfort inside Rob Bottin's brilliantly designed but tortuously hot RoboCop suit is the stuff of legend.
I think Rob Bottin here has really designed and created one of the most interesting, most spectacular robots I've ever seen on film.
The suit itself was a marvel of practical effects, turning Weller into a walking, talking allegory for the dehumanization of the modern worker, except with more guns. The production was a mix of cutting-edge effects and the kind of charmingly clunky technology that would later make the film an absolute classic. ED-209, the oversized tin can with the temperament of a malfunctioning blender.
And I think Phil Tippett with Ed-209 has really also done a superb robot.
Was brought to life with stop-motion animation that, while groundbreaking at the time, now looks like it belongs in a museum, next to the Atari 2600. Its infamous malfunction in the boardroom, where it turns an OCP executive into a Jackson Pollock painting, is Verhoeven's way of saying, this is what happens when you trust corporations with your safety. Subtle, it is not. But effective? Absolutely. Tensions on set were as high as the stakes in the film itself. Verhoeven's uncompromising vision clashed with Weller's physical limits, leading to confrontations that threatened to derail the production.
More to the left. Here.
Yet from this chaos emerged a film that's as relentless and unyielding as the process of making it. RoboCop isn't just a product of its time, it's a product of blood, sweat, and probably more than a few choice words exchanged behind the scenes. Basil Poledouris' score for RoboCop is the unsung hero of the film, which is ironic given that it's arguably more human than most of the characters. Brass-heavy main theme isn't just music, it's a rallying cry for a cyborg with a moral compass buried under layers of steel. The rich, resonant sounds of French horns and trumpets deliver a sense of unstoppable force, perfectly embodying RoboCop's relentless pursuit of justice, or whatever's left of it after the OCP gets involved. But it's not all bombast and bravado. The quieter, more melancholic moments in the score are where Poledouris really earns his paycheck. Here, strings take centre stage, violins and cellos weave a sorrowful, haunting melody that echoes the faint, flickering remnants of Alex Murphy's humanity. Wow! These subtle orchestral touches and layers of emotion, providing a poignant counterpoint to the film's otherwise cold, metallic world, is the kind of music that makes you feel a little guilty for cheering on the carnage. Almost. The percussion deserves a mention too, driving home the relentless mechanical nature of RoboCop himself. Timpani drums rumble like distant thunder, while snare drums tap out rhythms that mimic the march of an unstoppable machine, underscoring the scenes where RoboCop takes on Detroit's criminal underworld with the efficiency of a factory assembly line. Then there's the sound design, which does its best to remind you that RoboCop isn't exactly a cuddly hero. Every metallic clank and whir is a not-so-subtle reminder that our protagonist is, well, mostly machine. The sound of his heavy, deliberate footsteps is practically a character in itself, less walking and more approaching doom. The use of industrial sounds, metal scraping against metal, hydraulic hisses, further emphasises the cold, unfeeling nature of RoboCop's world, a place where even soundscape has been dehumanised. ED-209, the film's other robotic star, comes with its own soundscape, one that's as charmingly clunky as its stop-motion animation. Its menacing growls, punctuated by grinding gears and malfunctioning servos, are like the audio equivalent of a warning label that reads, "This product is definitely going to malfunction in a hilariously deadly way." It's corporate incompetence you can hear, which, let's face it, is as relevant today as ever. Together, Poledouris' score and the film's sound design create an auditory experience that's as immersive as it is ironic. The brass and strings give RoboCop a tragic, almost operatic dimension, while the industrious sounds and percussion ground him firmly in the gritty, dystopian reality of his world. It's the kind of soundtrack that lulls you into a sense of epic grandeur, only to remind you that you're rooting for a metal man with a trigger finger. At first glance, RoboCop's plot is straightforward. A good cop, brutally murdered, is resurrected as a cyborg enforcer by a corporation with dubious morals. But Verhoeven, ever the sly fox, uses this narrative as a vehicle for a deeper exploration of identity, humanity, and the corrosive effects of corporate greed. OCP, the omnipotent corporation at the film's heart, isn't just the antagonist. It's a stand-in for every faceless conglomerate that values profit over people.
Jones is going to come looking for you.
Oh, fuck Jones. He fumbled the ball and I was there to pick it up.
RoboCop's journey isn't just about hunting down the bad guys, it's about reclaiming the remnants of its humanity. His memories, buried under layers of programming and metal, begin to resurface, driving him to seek revenge on those who destroyed his life. This isn't just an action movie, it's a meditation on what it means to be human, in a world increasingly dominated by machines and corporations, albeit a meditation punctuated by gunfire and explosions. Peter Weller's portrayal of RoboCop is nothing short of a masterclass in minimalist acting. Encased in a suit that limited his movement to that of a particularly stiff mannequin, Weller manages to convey a deep sense of loss and tragedy.
How can I help you, Officer Lewis?
His performance is all in the eyes and the voice, hinting at the man who once was, now trapped in a body that's more weapon than flesh. Nancy Allen's Anne Lewis might not get as much screen time as she deserves, but she provides a crucial counterbalance to RoboCop's mechanical coldness.
Pretty fancy moves, Murphy.
Yeah, well, my son Jimmy...
Her warmth and empathy are the humanising elements that remind us, and RoboCop himself, of the humanity he's fighting to reclaim.
It's not really what I meant.
Allen plays it with a subtlety that's easy to overlook, but is essential to the film's emotional core. Kurtwood Smith as Clarence Boudica is the kind of villain that action movies desperately need but rarely get.
Well, listen, Chief. Your company built the fucking thing.
Boudica is a sadistic, gleefully violent character who revels in his own depravity. Smith plays him with a disturbing charm, making Boudica not just a thug, but a truly memorable antagonist.
Can you fly, Bobby? Clarence, no!
His performance is a reminder that villains don't just need to be evil, they need to be interesting.
You a good cop? Hot shot? Come in here all by yourself? Why, you gotta be some kind of great cop. Sure you are.
Ronnie Cox, Dick Jones, is a perfect foil to RoboCop's quest for justice. As the embodiment of corporate evil, Cox plays Jones with a slick, polished menace that makes your skin crawl.
Fellow executives, pretty simple math, huh, Bob? You just fucked with the wrong guy.
He's not just a bad guy, he's a reflection of the very real dangers of corporate power, unchecked by any sense of morality.
Dick, you're fired!
Thank you.
RoboCop is a film that wears its themes on its metallic sleeve. Verhoeven doesn't just critique 1980s America, he eviscerates it with the precision of a surgeon who's also a bit of a sadist. The film is a satire of a society where everything, including the police force, is up for sale for the highest bidder. It's a world where humanity is a commodity and where the lines between man and machine, justice and profit, are blurred beyond recognition.
They're public servants. They got job security. They're not supposed to strike.
The film's exploration of identity and humanity is as relevant now as it was in 1987.
Except there ain't nothing free, because there's no guarantees, you know? You're on your own.
RoboCop struggled to reclaim his memories, his emotions, and ultimately his soul. It's a poignant commentary on the dehumanizing effects of technology and corporate control. It's a film that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the world we live in, even as it entertains us with explosions and shootouts. Despite its modest budget, RoboCop punched well above its weight, raking in over $53 million domestically and becoming a surprise hit. It's the kind of success story that makes studio executives weep with joy and then immediately greenlit 5 more sequels.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
I'll buy that for $1.
But RoboCop isn't just a box office success, it's a cultural phenomenon. It became a touchstone for a generation of sci-fi fans and remains a classic example of how to make a genre film that's both entertaining and thought-provoking. The film's influence is still felt today in everything from video games to comic books, to the endless parade of dystopian sci-fi that followed in its wake. But few have managed to capture the same mix of satire, action and genuine emotional depth that RoboCop achieved. It's a film that endures not just because of its iconic imagery, but because it dares to challenge its audience, to make them think, even as it blows stuff up. RoboCop isn't just a film, it's a cutting critique of a society that seems to have learned nothing from the lessons it tried to teach. Verhoeven's blend of satire and spectacle has ensured the film's place in the pantheon of sci-fi classics. It's a film that entertains with one hand while delivering a swift punch to the gut with the other. Verhoeven's RoboCop doesn't just invite you to watch, it dares you to look deeper, to see beyond the surface-level carnage and recognise the biting commentary on a society gone awry. RoboCop has cast a long shadow over the sci-fi genre, influencing not just films but an entire wave of media that sought to combine spectacle with substance. Its legacy is visible in the way filmmakers approach dystopian narratives, always with an eye towards the darker, more satirical undercurrents that RoboCop navigated so expertly.
Well, he signed the release forms when he joined the force. He's legally dead. We can do pretty much what we want to.
But perhaps the most striking aspect of its legacy is how prescient its themes have become. In a world where technology continues to encroach on every aspect of our lives, and where corporate interests seem to increasingly dictate public policy, RoboCop feels less like a relic of the past and more like a warning that we fail to heed. The film's influence extends beyond its thematic depth. The visual style of RoboCop, all chrome, grime and brutalist architecture, has become iconic, setting a template for how dystopian futures are imagined. Its mix of practical effects and cutting-edge for the time technology created a world that feels lived in, grimy and disturbingly plausible. It's a look that has been emulated and referenced countless times, but rarely with the same impact. In the end, RoboCop endures not just because of its action or its iconic protagonist, but because it's a film with something to say. Verhoeven used the guise of a sci-fi action movie to deliver a scathing critique of the world around him, and in doing so, he created a work that resonates as strongly today as it did in 1987. It's a film that refuses to be pigeonholed, one that delivers entertainment with a side of sharp social commentary. RoboCop is a film that asks big questions. What does it mean to be human in a world increasingly dominated by machines? What happens when corporations wield more power than governments? And most importantly, how much of our humanity are we willing to sacrifice in the name of progress? These decisions are as relevant now as they were when the film first hit theatres, making RoboCop not just a classic, but a necessary piece of cinema. So if you're ever in need of a reminder of what smart, submersive filmmaking looks like, or if you just want to watch a cyborg beat the living daylights out of some criminals while sticking it to the man, RoboCop is waiting. Just remember, in the words of the metallic lawman himself,
Dead or alive, you are coming with me. Come quietly or there will be trouble.
And there you have it, folks, our deep dive into the twisted, titanium-plated world of RoboCop. Consider this your initiation into the dystopian delights of Paul Verhoeven, the first stop on my cinematic tour through his trilogy of sci-fi classics. Next up, I'll be tackling Total Recall. where memory and reality get tangled up like a bad case of amnesia at a Mars travel agency. But for those of you who enjoy a good existential crisis wrapped in 80s success, do me a solid. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop a comment below. Perhaps share your thoughts on whether RoboCop could take down a Terminator, or just lament the fact that we're now living in a world where Verhoeven's satire feels uncomfortably like reality. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more of my Verhoeven trilogy.